Let's have a look at the Daily Telly if we can. Another extraordinary photo there. There it is. Code red is the headline. An out-of-control bushfire threatens Johns River on the New South Wales mid-north coast, and the picture there from Nathan Edwards. The story underneath it from Mark Morey, Jack Morfitt and Anton Rose. Another, just recounting the absolute catastrophe that has befallen parts of New South Wales in this fire emergency. Campbell just mentioned, Kristy, the Prime Minister has been on the ground with the Premier, and this story quotes him talking about praising the courage and incredible spirit of Australians rallying to each other's aid. He said he's never more proud of Australians than in moments like this. Kristy, I think that's not just something that politicians say in moments like this. I believe most of us would probably subscribe to that view ourselves.
I think we all would too, Gemma, and whilst people dislike politicians and they get a bad rap, as someone who's travelled with politicians to a number of communities that are in trouble and are suffering over the years, as Campbell, you obviously have been, being Premier of Queensland in disaster areas. Most politicians are so genuine connecting with Australians in trouble. You wouldn't be a politician if you weren't able to do that. So they do get a bad rap, but I mean, and it is just, you would have to absolutely have a heart of stone not to be affected by some of the stories of these people.
You're spot on, and let's talk, great opportunity to take a look at that photo that Campbell referenced just now, and it's on the front page of the Australian. It's doing the rounds on a couple of mastheads, but let's take a look at the front page of the Australian. There, the headline: "Firestorms threaten to widen the path of disaster," and honestly, your heart breaks. That's the photo there of Scott Morrison comforting 85-year-old Owen Whalen. He's at an evacuation centre in Taree, and he doesn't know if he has anything left. And if you've seen the vision, like the actual news vision of that interaction between the Prime Minister and Mr. Whalen, he's devastated, he's emotional, he's crying, the Prime Minister is comforting him. I believe those moments are genuine. Campbell, you would have been there, in some sort of similar circumstances during your time as Premier.
Look, not just as Premier, but also as Lord Mayor of Brisbane with the floods in Brisbane.
Right,
also
of course, the floods.
A particularly bad storm that we had in Brisbane in 2009, which wiped out a fair bit of the suburb called the Gap. And I guess sort of there's another element when it's fire, particularly these sort of fires, and it's the sheer horror and terror, and it sweeps down upon people. I mean, with, say, the floods, that came on, and it came on reasonably quickly, but, the floodwaters are rising, people are sort of dealing with it, but a fire suddenly, crashing across the next ridge and down into your valley, and 1 minute you're okay, and next minute there's this wall of fire sweeping towards you. I mean, that terror element to this is being conveyed by these photos and a lot of the footage we're seeing in the media.
Yeah, you're quite right, and you've taken me back to my former life as a TV journo on the road many, many years ago now, and just the speed at which fires can move and the speed at which the wind changes. And the other thing for me was the scent. You couldn't get the smoke out of your clothes for days and days and days, and that's just as a reporter being on the fire ground. It's quite confronting in a completely different way. I do agree with you, and that's really important perspective that you give there.